Link Start, marking its ninth installment in the Sword Art Online game franchise. Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream is the culmination of everything the Sword Art Online universe has to offer. Dimps, the developer for both Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream and Fatal Bullet back in 2018, brings not only an all-star cast of characters from its main and alternative series, but also renders a complete overhaul with its game mechanics and playstyle. And unlike the more recent Sword Art Online titles made by All Korea that has a more traditional feel, Fractured Daydream delivers a series first with its massive 20-player raids and a more streamlined multiplayer experience. But considering that the franchise has mostly seen mixed reviews throughout its lifetime, can Fractured Daydream actually turn that frown around? Right from the get-go, Fractured Daydream delivers a completely original story following two new characters that are part of Galaxia's development team, a new system that was part of Alfheim Online's most recent update, which allowed players to relive the past. But as Galaxia spins out of control, it caused everyone over time and space to get displaced and lost parts of their memories. It was a fun take that gave us the Dragon Ball Xenoverse treatment, where we have to set the timeline back on track while also allowing a more diverse roster such as the Underworld's Administrator or GGO's Death Gun be seen on a different perspective. However, where this starts to fall apart is with its terrible pacing, where almost the entire half of the game was spent introducing characters one after the other. This is an awful thing to see on a game like this, especially if you're not particularly in it for the story or the overall experience, as the game requires you to actually finish it to unlock new characters for multiplayer, where all the fun begins, and that is, if fun is a 5-letter word that's spelled G, R, I, and D, when it comes to gameplay and its combat system, it's a bit of a mixed bag as well. It's an interesting approach that delivers a diverse, fast-paced action combat where characters have their own unique traits and class systems such as fighters, tanks, or supports, but you also get completely different playstyles based on the virtual world they're part of. Characters like Len and Fukuzero, for example, range the battlefield with bullets and grenades similar to Fatal Bullet, while Lifa, Silica, and Yuki are part of the fairy world of Alfheim Online, so they're able to fly around and can traverse with ease. On the other hand, characters like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Administrator from Underworld devastates their foes with magical abilities. At its core, it's a pretty fun action RPG mixing elements from different universes. You can roam an expansive map filled with unique encounters and optional objectives, slash or shoot your way through hordes of monsters with unique abilities, and even unleash powerful ultimate moves with devastating force. This makes the gameplay loop straightforward yet still addictive for a time. But where this starts to fall off is with its exclusion of customizable skills and abilities, rendering the experience awfully repetitive if you're not swapping characters every now and then. Not to mention that the distinction between different classes doesn't particularly carry over that well in practice. Playing a support character like Leffa or Silica doesn't particularly feel any different from other classes outside of that one healing ability they have. At the end of the day, you just push buttons, spam your abilities, and hope you did something productive for the next 10 to 15 minutes. And it shouldn't come as a surprise, but Fractured Daydream has an even bigger emphasis on its multiplayer compared to its predecessors. It's a live service title that offers 20-player boss raids and other multiplayer quests, either with a team in co-op or acting alone in free roam with other players. It should be noted that even during a server maintenance or when you don't have access to the internet, players can still play the game, but with limited functions. But even without its limited functions, its online modes are sparse with sizable gaps in between ranks to unlock other maps and missions. As of writing, there's a total of 9 co-op quests, 3 boss raids, and the newly added Extreme Raid that's only available during specific time slots. The latest update also added Straya as the first of 3 paid DLC characters, alongside a handful of quests tied to her story. Sadly, Fractured Daydream is soured by its grindy approach to everything. As you play the game, complete story missions, or even do the various multiplayer activities, you will be awarded with experience to advance your player rank, which dictates what kind of content you'll be able to do or the rank of equipment you can obtain. What makes this a huge turnoff is there isn't really a lot of things unlocked right away, and players are expected to repeatedly grind the same few missions over and over again until you get access to the next one. It's a grindy endeavor that doesn't particularly feel rewarding, especially with its declining player base a few weeks after its release. What's worse is this is a game that was literally made with massive multiplayer in mind, so having barren lobbies doesn't particularly bode well for its future. Further fouling my taste buds is its battle pass like season progression. While it doesn't particularly make you cough up real-world dollars to get the full experience, having time progression leaves little to be desired for a $60 or 50 British pound game you pay up front. They should take a page out of Helldivers 2, where they introduce new warbans that include from cosmetics to modded weapons without having to rush through everything before it's gone. There's also an in-game store neatly tucked away on the far right of the lobby that allows purchases of exclusive customization items which would mostly use real-world money. It's a shame since this is literally the best looking Sword Art Online game right now with a lot of hidden potential. The characters are well detailed while the various maps are vast and filled with points of interest. However, its execution and lack of content to keep players interested just isn't there. Hardcore style fans are still having fun with this, but if you're not really one of them, this is a really hard sell even for the best of businessmen. This is a game that'll eventually crash and burn because of its lack of player retention, and sadly I don't see any way that Bandai Namco or Dimps can actually save this one from its inevitable fate.
And for everything else gaming, choose Envision.
A community built by gamers.